Welcome to Sex, Money, and Real Estate Podcast, the show for real estate couples about how to close more deals in the bedroom. My name is Nancy Jameson.
And I'm Bill Jameson.
And each week we deep dive into juicy, intentional, sexy conversations, sharing with you what it takes to create balance in your intimate relationships and your real estate business. Thank you so much for being here. Shall we begin?
Hey, baby.
Hey, baby.
What's happening?
Oh my goodness, we're like right in the middle of this, aren't we?
Middle of what?
Do you know the whole
virus that cannot be named?
that shall not be named.
That
The
shall
social
not be named.
social distancing. That's totally the new buzzword.
Yeah, I had actually never heard of that word before until I was actually mocking it a little bit during a workout a couple of weeks ago. And then now it's like, between, that thing and the social distancing, it's like everyday rhetoric. It's really this is an amazing social, I'm going to call it a social experiment because I'm not really sure where it has come from and where it's going. And I know it's going to all shake out and be amazing because it always is, right? Mm-hmm. And, I'm going to say part of my magic today is I'm grateful for the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So in the middle of it. So while we're sharing magic.
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and define what magic is? So everybody is, I'm sure people who would listen regularly are catching on, but if you're new to the episode, how do you define magic, Nancy?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So Bill and I define magic as the ability to influence yourself, others, and life in an empowering way.
Yes.
Of course, you can influence self, others, and life in a disempowering way. Mm-hmm. We choose empowering. Mm-hmm. So, what's your magic for today?
I'm going to talk about this whole stay-at-home thing.
Okay.
It's great because we're still doing real estate, and I haven't shown as many houses as I normally would in the last week or two. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, it's still, the drum still beats on, and it's beautiful, and we're figuring out different ways to do that. Mm-hmm. And I love how our family unit here at the house, the four of us, have turned this into a win. Rex continues to practice his karate. Lucas has, between his virtual schooling lessons, which are going well, he's learning to play the piano by an app of all things. Mm-hmm. And the technology out there just boggles my mind. And I love how the metronome comes up and the mic is listening to the notes he's playing, and he's not even a few days into it, and he's already playing songs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what the? It's so cool.
Yeah,
it's so cool. And then the time to be together has been super cool. The runs. Mm-hmm. You and I got some yoga in the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I appreciate that there's still some continuity of our regular schedule too. Like we're still going to the gym, we're still working out. We're obviously getting the runs around the neighborhood now more than since our YMCA has shuttered the doors for a few days. So
a couple weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, a few moments.
Right.
Just a few moments in time. Mm-hmm. So it's all good, So I am grateful. I am so grateful for our house. I'm grateful for you and I, and the stability that we offer each other in the midst of all this. I'm grateful for the boys and their ability to flow. Mm-hmm. Yep. It doesn't have to be this way. I'm sure there's others out there who are experiencing having a much different experience. Mm-hmm. And the way that we have influenced and raised the boys to be in the flow, and for them to be open enough to receive it and understand it. And move through it. So we're just, we're doing our thing, and it's beautiful. It's all beautiful.
Creating joy in the face of circumstances.
Of course. Yeah. Joy in the face of circumstance. Yes, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that too, because again, it speaks to what we're talking about today. Your magic does. And then it also speaks to our choice of the matter. So the funny thing, you say that the home buyers have slowed down, which they have. I mean, they're all kind of hanging out for a second, and yet we have offered the virtual tour, and the listings have gotten shown more, which I find interesting for sure.
Yep.
Which is, of course, we would offer virtual listings, which is actually part of my magic. So I received a phone call today. And this gentleman started off the phone call like, you were referred to us and we're going to list with you. Yeah. And I have one question. I was like, cool. Right. I'm like, what's the question? And he's like, do you do virtual showings? And I said, oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm like, we do virtual showings for our buyers that are moving out of state. So of course we would do virtual showings for our listings, whether that's through, literally going through the listing and showing the property to somebody, walking the property, or it would be taking video and an actual virtual tour. So it was a beautiful conversation. And, we did an episode last week on how to protect yourself and your business around the virus that shall not be named. And so it was episode 11, but, we talk upfront and like very transparently about the things that you can be doing right now in your real estate business, and that bolsters the real estate and gets you through to the other side so that you're prepared and stabilized and, all of these beautiful foundational things that you don't necessarily get to work on because you're in your business instead of working on your business. Right. And it reminded me of that. So as you were sharing your magic, all of the things that you had said were actually all of the things that we had talked about in our podcast episode last week about
Interesting. Yeah. The
self-love and the self-care and how we're taking care of ourselves and taking care of the household and setting up the workspaces, and then obviously doing the business that clearly led to this listing referral. So now, I've got a listing appointment, and he's like, yeah, you just let me know when you're going to list it. I was like, oh, okay.
So amazing.
So yeah, I mean, that's just the power of having that database already secured and those relationships already in place, and fostering powerful relationships and cultivating that and doing your client events and doing your encouragement phone calls. And that's what Bill and I are calling our phone calls. They're encouragement phone calls, they're gratitude phone calls, and just checking in on people.
Yep.
Seeing how they're doing, connecting with them, because that's a big part of it. And the social distancing doesn't necessarily eliminate connection. And that's really what we're talking about today, is the environment and the circles in which you surround yourself with. And so while we're practicing social distancing, we are certainly not practicing social disconnection. Let me say that a different way. We're practicing social connection even though we're practicing social distancing. How about that? Like, we're still connecting with people. We're still phone calls. We're still out in our runs. We're still saying hi to everybody in the neighborhood. We're still, at the grocery store and that kind of stuff. And yet,
and hanging out with our friends and family, and
big part
as
of
much
it.
as we can, and at the same time, we're working from the house. I understand what you're saying. We're working from the house instead of working from the office,
and we're connecting with people. I mean, everything is energy. Bill and I believe that everything is energy, and so we're utilizing the power of our voice and our energy to connect with folks, even though it may be over the telephone or a text or in video or those types of things. So I just appreciate that whole perspective. So environment and circles. So I have a quote here from Jim Rohn.
Oh, cool. We like quotes.
Cool.
He
says, you are the average of the 5 people you hang with.
I love that. I love that.
How about this one? Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Now that one I've heard before.
Yeah, we've heard that.
Once or twice.
Oh, you haven't heard the other one before?
Actually, I have. I've heard, I didn't know it was 5. I'd heard 7 before, but it may be a different person or circumstance or whatever.
Well, it could be 10 too. I mean, I think the concept is
you're the average of the people you hang out with.
Right. Your intimate, circles, those people that you spend the most time with.
Right. So you have a couple of different circles, right? You have your ITP. And we're going to talk about, okay, so if you're in Atlanta, you have your people who are inside the perimeter, the people who are inside the circle, and if you're in Atlanta, you live OTP, you're outside the circle, outside of the major highway that circumvents Atlanta. So,
which
the average,
is 285.
which is 285.
You're talking about 285.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you are the average of the people who are ITP inside the perimeter, you get all the greatest and, maybe the most, you get the greatest of it all, and you also get, the other side of the stick with that as well, which means that there may be some opportunities to upgrade your circle as well.
Mm-hmm. How about this one? The immunity is in the community. Right? So it's the community is the people that you're hanging with, your community.
Yes, I love that too.
Awesome.
Because if you're in community, you definitely have a little more, a little more around you to
support you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bolster you, stabilize you.
Yes.
You have folks that are able to see your blind spots and assist you in moving through the accountability piece, or assist you in moving through things that you are not going to see because you don't have eyes in the back of your head. Mm-hmm. But if you're surrounded by a group of people that are fantastic and amazing and playing for the same things that you're playing for, whatever they may be, then they're able to hold you accountable in a totally different way. So it's cool. It's cool. And so two things that really come to mind first and foremost is Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People talk about your circle of concern, or are you in your circle of influence? And so when you're in your circle of concern, you're experiencing concerns, okay? Like it just encompasses a wide range of concerns that we have, such as...
I don't know, it could be health. Right.
It could be COVID-19. It could be our children. It
government.
Could be, government. Yeah.
The threat of war.
Mm-hmm. Anything at work, your finances, like any of those things are just that you're fretting about, that you're concerned about. Mm-hmm. All right. And so then your circle of influence, and your circle of influence encompasses things that we can do something about, things that we can or have somewhat control over. So it's really all about how you respond to it. And so one of the big things that comes up with your circle of concern or your circle of influence is your circle of friends. And again, if your vibe attracts the tribe, then you want to be, and you subscribe to that, then you want to be in and around people that truly uphold you and assist you and bolster you and
are honest with you with feedback as well.
Yeah. Transparent, authentic.
Transparent and authentic. There you go. See, that's the thing. Because, if you're hanging out with a bunch of people, you don't want just a cheering club. I mean, I would love to have, the Bill J,
cheering section.
Yeah, cheering section over here that no matter what the hell I did.
You're the greatest.
Yeah, I'm the greatest that ever walked the earth.
No.
What? No, that's some honest feedback.
Well.
But, and I do want that bench, right? But I also want that bench to be able to give me some context to, like seeing my blind spots, or where I could improve or up my game or something like that. And so that's where that circle of influence comes into play.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And I think the biggest, or one of the biggest things that people can encounter is that, as your life changes or evolves, then your circle of influence may actually decrease.
You mean like the people that how many people you're actually hanging out with?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. And I've noticed that in my life as well, actually, now that I think about it.
But yet it increases in value. Or it increases in influence, like the influence that they have over, or the feedback, the transparent conversation that you're is that give and take in that relationship. Right. And so,
and I say it a lot, you cannot solve your problems from the same place that you created them.
Yeah.
And what's the most common factor in the place that, creates or solves or creates the problems that you have? It's the way that you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And your environment.
Environment. Right. So if you have others in your environment that are, thinking outside of the box of where you're at, then you may find a shortcut really to, whatever the problem is or wherever your blind spot is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's very similar to having a coach. I mean, that's why, our coaching clients have hired us is that we shortcut that whole process, because they may be in a process themselves, whether it's moving through the guidelines with them, where, we're assisting them in figuring out what their values and their gifts and their talents are, or assisting them in establishing their personal mission statement or their business mission statement. Yet it would take them a long time to do this on their own versus, they're moving through this with the coach, because the coach isn't necessarily, they're a part of their circle of influence. However, they're not part of their circle of concern. Like I say that to them all the time. I'm like, if you think I'm going to sit here and wallow with you, you go see somebody else, because that's not who I am for you. I am not that stand for you. I am the one who is saying, no. This is why you hired me, is to show up and assist you in holding yourself accountable so that you can move into your greatness, so that you can achieve your goals, so that you can make, 100K or 200K or whatever.
Right. Because a lot of times people tend to hang out with other people that will commiserate with them.
Yes.
Oh, the market is terrible. And then everybody agrees with them.
Yes.
And then guess what? They experience.
Yes. Their circle of concern.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So it, again, as your life changes and evolves, so will your friends. Your circle of friends will definitely. And, guys, it may come down to some of your family members may find themselves vibrating themselves out of your circle of influence, because, I can share with you that there were many times that as I was evolving, I would get, well, why can't you just stay the same? Why can't you stay where you are?
And that's almost like a quote, right?
Yeah, it is.
Why aren't you the same as you used to be?
I prefer you the way you used to be. And I'm like, what? Like dead? Not alive? It's just wallowing? No, because by me choosing to move by me choosing to move within my circle of influence, it became very confronting to them. That's what was making them uncomfortable about it. Not necessarily me. It just allowed them to see what was possible for them, and frankly, allowed them to see what they were not choosing. Like they were choosing to play small, and I represented what it was to play big.
Yeah, and you have single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, because you've had a circle of influence.
Yeah, I have an amazing circle of influence.
Been able to influence, and be the example for others, and raise their calibration, like literally raise their calibration because of being the example in who you are.
Thank you.
You've raised my calibration, baby.
Yeah.
A couple times.
Just a few. No, I appreciate it. No, and likewise, you raised mine too.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And then one more thing I wanted to say about the coaching aspect of it was that part of our curriculum is literally bringing in their circle, whoever like the client's circle is. So whether that's us going to their homes and saying, hey, we want you to invite your ITP, your folks that are, your close, intimate relationships into your home. And we're going to take you through what the work that you're doing, because it's your circle and your environment that is going to support you when the shit hits the fan.
Right.
Or when accountability comes down, or because it's not a question of if the breakdown is going to happen, it's a matter of when. And so who is going to be around you to assist you in moving through those breakdowns? It's very important.
Yeah.
So it's an additional layer of accountability. So we build that into the curriculum. And again, sometimes it's in somebody's house and sometimes it's virtual. So environment is everything.
Yep. So environment talks about your response, right? The choice of how you respond. Responding is not reacting.
True.
It's taking the pause, not having the knee-jerk reaction, being thoughtful and mindful. And we right now in this current environment, overall environment, the world environment right now, we've been all given the opportunity to pause. And it's been it is encompassing of every area of your life. So you get to literally pause and hang out and decide what your next move is going to be. To embrace the love or embrace the fear.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. It's interesting. I was thinking about this on Tuesday because you actually had, you lead an accountability group of 7 people.
Yes.
You co-lead with Matthew, and it's called the Circle of Influence, and it's all around creating your personal circle of influence and moving the needle and addressing different things that could create disempowering conversations with you. So environment is one of them. This is a perfect example. And so we call it COI. And so COI happened to be at our house on Tuesday. And it was a perfect time to relate to how people are moving through the conversation around the virus that shall not be named. And it just reminded me of the power of where we are and our choices. And so if we're viewing this as a time of fear, which, again, I get it. I get it. It's definitely a circumstance, like I'm not negating the circumstance, or I'm not playing it down as, a concern or a health concern. And we do take it seriously. I mean, otherwise we would be at work and we, let's just say we take it seriously as well. And at the same time, I feel that it's a huge social cleanse. And what it made me reflect back on was a part of our show description, which is the societal patterns of powering through multitasking, busyness, maximization, and overproduction are unsustainable. And so how...
Say that again, because that is a mouthful right there.
No, it is. It's serious. It's the societal patterns of powering through... I mean, you all know what these things are. Powering through multitasking, busyness, maximization, and overproduction are unsustainable. And so what the amazing thing about the virus has caused us to do in this whole social distancing process is slow down, and just create the pause or a space. Covey talks about this. It's the space between the stimulus, which is the virus, and the response, which is how you choose to show up.
Yes.
And that creates the space or response ability, your ability to respond. How about that? And so what do you do? What do you choose to do during the pause? Back to what you were saying, do you choose to continue moving in love, or do you choose to continue moving in fear? And how you spend your time and energy and who you spend your time and energy with is directly proportional to that. So regardless if we have a virus or no virus, your environment is the thing. So when we get to the other side of this, and we will get to the other side of this, of course we will, who are you spending your time with? What are you listening to when you're driving in the car? What movies are you watching? What food are you ingesting? Where are you shopping? Who are you spending your time with at church or at work? Or where do you work? Or what kind of clients do you have? Who are you sleeping with?
Right.
Who are you, what are you doing? All of that stuff, it's environment. So regardless of the virus or no virus, it's very important that you spend your time with people or things or places, self, others, or life, that really empower you. And that brings me back to this point, is that it all starts with you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, let's definitely touch on that because, this pause, as I talked about it a second ago, is your personal time to pause and make some decisions instead of the knee-jerk reaction. If something's going off, if some bill got unpaid and you were out of your mind because you missed a bill or something like that, you can actually take the time now to pause and say, oh, okay, I forgive myself for missing this bill. I'm going to pay it and move on and be at peace with it instead of beating yourself up. You can choose now to, we're given this pause so that you can choose to work on yourself and your self-discipline. It could be yoga or meditation or something like that will create other pauses when life, picks back up, in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. I would definitely call that action step 1. For sure. When you're, moving through all of that, upgrading your environment.
Yeah.
For sure. It begins with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's increasing your personal power.
Yep. Which then will increase your circle of influence.
Yes.
As your personal power expands, so does your circle of influence. And if you could see me right now, I'm literally like using my hands and expanding the circle.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. Because we're going to move into video soon. So they'll be able to see.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Us in our like banter and our antics. And I'm Italian, so my hands are flailing everywhere.
Hysterical.
Oh my goodness.
So did we speak to surround yourself? Action step number 2, surround yourself
No.
with people.
Go for it.
Surround yourself with people that want to see you grow. Hold space for you to grow and live your best life.
And sometimes this means shedding people, like family or friends that are interested in holding you back. Back to that whole conversation of why can't you be the same? Why can't you be like you were? It's like crabs in a bucket.
Yeah, and the thing is they take it personal, and it feels personal, unless you're having these open, transparent conversations with them, it's gonna feel personal, both to you and to them. And it's not personal. If the plane's going down,
yes,
you're putting the oxygen mask on you first so that
yeah,
you can take care of others.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's the same thing. It's not personal. Because if you put the oxygen mask on somebody else, you're the one that's going down.
Preach it.
There's nothing else. Then there's nothing else to fix. Because you're dead.
Jeez.
Well, that's how it goes.
Yeah, I get it.
That's how it goes. So put the oxygen mask on and remember, read the 4 agreements and read about how not to take things personally and take care of yourself.
Yep.
What do you got for number 3?
Set standards. So this applies. Okay. Well, so standards are essentially literally taking out a yellow legal pad or some type of whatever you write on. Create a list of guidelines that governs either who you spend your time with or who you want to intentionally do business with. So a client standards or client guidelines would be, what kind of people you want to work with, what kind of behaviors do they exhibit? Are they cash positive? Do they want to purchase homes $300,000 and above, $500,000 above? Like whatever your adjectives are that describe who the folks are that you want to work with, and so you have your client standards, how they treat you, how you treat them, all the things.
Their experience.
Yep.
They've bought houses before. They haven't bought houses before.
Yeah. Respectful, honoring of you, like all those types of things. So that's your client list. And then Bill and I also have sexual and intimate relationship standards to where we say, all right, well, this is, we have a set of like fitness is in there and food, lifestyle is in there, healthy lifestyle. All of those things are in terms of like sexual, intimate relationship standards. We talk about honoring our love languages, the number of times we would like to connect, the level in which we want to connect. And it's really beautiful. That's where our date night is, how we have a weekly date night. So things like that. And then you can have friends and family sets of standards or guidelines. You can have guidelines for your work environment, or, you can go ham and shop and eat and like all the things.
Yeah, and lay it out. Be real. Play for greatness. If your job, if you lay out your the relationship standards you have for your environment where you work, and where you're working right now does not meet those standards, make a change.
Yeah. Well, if you write the guidelines, consciousness creates. So
that's true too.
You're writing it into creation. You're speaking it into manifestation. And my best example, I love this example. My best example is when I was in a workshop, and very similar to Stephen Covey's workshop of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is years ago. Like, oh my gosh. I want to say this is in like 95. It was in 95 because I was working for Houston's.
Okay.
And I was in Dallas and they flew me to Atlanta. I got Stephen Covey certified in 95. Yellow legal pad, wrote out all the standards associated with this person that I wanted to be in relationship with. And no word of a lie, within a year, I met you. Yeah. So awesome. I know it works. And the first thing that we did and you did when you got into real estate was you wrote your client standards.
Yeah.
And we have this fantastic referral-based business. It's legitimate. So you don't have to take our word for it. You just try it out for yourself and you will see.
And wear on what works for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and the last action step is get a coach.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And, if you're going to get a coach, I'm going to, shamelessly say,
Yeah,
hire us.
absolutely.
You can hire Nancy as a coach. You can hire me as a coach.
Yep.
You can hire us together.
Yes, you can.
Whatever makes you most comfortable.
It happens.
Yeah, it does happen. And we're going to coach you through your personal guidelines, and that includes discovering what your values, your gifts, your talents are. And we're going to coach you into creating a personal mission statement.
Or a business mission statement, or both.
Or both,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about your BHAGs, those big, hairy, audacious goals, and set you on a path to get those.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exciting. And we tie the personal and the business together because we know how you do one thing is how you do everything. And it'll be really an amazing journey for you to see how, you running a mile translates into, that ripple effect into you running that next deal.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it happens. Well, and we coach the PPC balance, which is production and production capability. And that's the sustainability. That's the equation, is sustainability. And that's what we're seeing right now. So, and I think that that's a big reason why we're not necessarily concerned. We are not in our circle of concern at all.
Nope.
At all.
Totally cool.
I mean, we've been repping this for a very long time, and we share it, and we openly share it, and hold people accountable to it. And our folks, like my coaching calls, were freaking amazing.
Yeah,
this
mine
week.
Was too. Yep.
I mean, amazing. Like they're on fire. My one of my ladies got 3 listings last week.
That's amazing.
So, social distancing, whatever. I mean, it's still happening. So it's just, it's beautiful. So yes. So if you're interested in applying to coach with us, then definitely reach out to us at sexmoneyrealestate@gmail.com. Of course, you can DM us at sexmoneyrealestate on Insta. And, we're around. I mean, we're all over the place, so it's easy to find us.
Yep. And, yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So please reach out. And here's the thing also is that even if you don't necessarily need, well, I won't say need, but want a coach right now or whatever, but, you're feeling a little overwhelmed and want to talk to somebody, we're so open to having a conversation with you. Like, just call us. Our phone number is also everywhere. Give us a call. We're happy to hang out and talk for a little while and, just to have a conversation. Because it's a very interesting time that we're living in right now. And I can see how, it could be helpful to get out of your circle of concern and get into a conversation with somebody who is, playing for greatness, that wants you to play for greatness as well.
We'll hold spaces for it, I mean, because I get it. And, we talked about this earlier, is that we understand the fear. Like, we understand where it's coming from and that it's perpetuating, and that it's quite possible that, there's folks that we love dearly that are in the fear space, and we sit and hold space for them and love them unconditionally, and we'll be here when they're in that space, and we'll be here to love them through it any other time too. So
totally,
it's very important to have compassion and very important to stay connected.
So connect with us, please. Especially
that circled around beautifully, didn't it?
Sure did. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else to add to this conversation?
I don't think so.
In this moment?
I don't think so. I think it's beautiful. I'm inspired by all the families that I'm seeing walking around, and all the pets that are out, and the kids, and all of that. I think that's extraordinary. Yeah. So connect with us, and as always, if you love the podcast, please subscribe to it. And we're not seeing as many reviews as we'd like to see. So if you're inspired, please write a review and let everybody know that you love this podcast. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And share it with some realtor that you know too, because we all know a ton of realtors, and we all know that they're not all necessarily doing business. So they could use the support as well. So we're all in this together. Awesome. Yes. Bye for now. All right. We love you guys. Peace. Bye. Wow, what a show. Thank you so much for listening. If you're inspired, we ask that you share the podcast with one person and subscribe and follow our show. I'm Nancy Jameson.
And I'm Bill Jameson.
And remember, it's a great life.
Woo!
Quick note about the Sex, Money, and Real Estate podcast. We are not doctors or licensed therapists. We are a joyous, abundant, and mature couple passionately sharing our story of growth around sex, money, and real estate. Our thoughts, opinions, and beliefs are our own, so please consult your doctor, healthcare provider, or your broker regarding any questions or issues you have related to your physical or mental health or specific state laws regarding your real estate business.